The nation was holding its breath. This wasn't politics as usual. This was a duel. A fight for the right to speak for America in front of millions who had already picked sides before a single word was spoken. The arena wasn't a cozy television studio. It was a circular stage lit like a prize fight, with the audience wrapping around it on all sides. Every seat was filled. The hum of whispered conversations mixed with the sharp clicks of camera shutters. From above, cranes carrying TV cameras hovered like vultures waiting for the first drop of blood. At the exact moment the floor manager gave the cue, Jasmine Crockett stepped into the light. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. No pandering, no pleasantries. Her stride was measured and deliberate, her heels tapping against the stage like a slow countdown to detonation. In her left hand, a thick yellow folder. The way she carried it wasn't casual. It was like a soldier carrying a loaded weapon, not yet aimed, not yet fired, but ready. From the opposite tunnel, Donald Trump emerged. His arrival was theater. A bright grin for the cameras, a few lines tossed toward the front row, a small wave to the section holding Trump 2024 signs. His voice carried even without a microphone. His showman instincts never failed him. But behind that smile was something colder, the look of a man who had already decided the ending of tonight's story. In his mind, he'd won before the lights even came on. They spotted each other before they sat. This wasn't a polite glance. It was an unspoken collision. His eyes sent the message, "I'm going to break you here, in front of the whole country." Her eyes replied without blinking, "Then you'd better make it count." The crowd felt that silent exchange. A wave of whispers rippled through the audience like wind through dry grass. People leaned forward in their seats. Some lifted their phones to record. Not because they expected a fight, but because they knew one was coming. The moderator hadn't even entered yet, but the air was already heavy. It had that strange electric weight that comes right before a storm. Trump reached his podium first. He shuffled his notes, but every move was exaggerated. The sort of performance that played well to the lens. His fingers drummed on the glass tabletop, slow and steady, like a boxer tapping the ropes. Jasmine set down a single notebook beside her folder and placed her right hand on top of it. She didn't open it. She didn't fidget. The cameras caught her stillness. A calm so sharp it was almost defiant. All around the arena, there was the restless shifting of bodies, the faint buzz of phones switching to live stream mode. The red tally lights on the cameras glowed like sniper sights, fixed on both podiums. The floor manager's voice came through the moderator's earpiece. "We're live in 5, 4, 3. For a split second, both of them seemed to inhale at the same time. Trump straightened his tie. Jasmine flexed her fingers once against the folder, as if testing its weight. Everyone watching, in the room and across the country, knew one thing: the first strike would decide everything. And tonight, it might not be a line of argument. It might be something far more dangerous. The moderator stepped into the circle between them. He looked from one to the other, sensing the tension, and gave a small nod to the cameras. The battle for America's narrative was about to begin. The opening questions were predictable: economy, border security, standard talking points. The moderator lobbed them like soft pitches, and Trump swung at each one with rehearsed precision. He painted his version of America, a country under siege, a nation slipping away because of bad leadership and dangerous ideas. Jasmine listened without interrupting. Her hands stayed folded, her eyes fixed on him as if she were dissecting every word for the right moment to strike. She didn't shift her weight, didn't frown, didn't give away anything. And then, without warning, Trump pivoted. "I'll tell you what the real problem is," he said, leaning forward toward the microphone. His tone changed. It dropped into something heavier, something personal. "We've got people in Congress who talk a big game about America, but have never lifted a finger for it. People who just take from this country and never give anything back." The crowd made a soft noise. Not quite a gasp, not quite a cheer. But it had that dangerous quality, the kind that meant they were waiting for a name. Trump didn't say her name. He didn't need to. He glanced sideways, right at her, with a smirk that told the audience exactly who he meant. It wasn't the words themselves. It was the way he said them, like he was lowering the blade slowly, savoring the moment before the cut. The moderator tried to steer him back. "Senator, let's stick to policy." "No," Trump cut in. "This is about character. This is about who's real and who's not." Phones went up higher in the crowd. People knew something was about to happen. Jasmine finally moved. She reached down, unclipped the yellow folder, and pulled it just a few inches closer to her. The gesture was small, but the cameras caught it instantly. One of the live feeds zoomed in so close, you could see the faint crease marks along the edge of the cover. She didn't speak yet. She let him keep going, keep digging the hole. "You can't claim to love this country if you've never done anything for it," Trump said, his voice tightening. "Not you, not your family, not anyone." The audience stirred. That last line, "not your family," was the slip. The red light on camera 2 blinked, and the shot cut straight to Jasmine's face. No expression, no blink, just stillness. She placed her hand flat on the folder. The room went quieter. Even Trump seemed to notice the shift, pausing for just a fraction of a second. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady, but it cut like glass. "Mr. Trump, are you sure you want to go there?" A ripple moved through the crowd. Trump tilted his head, half grinning. "I'm not afraid of facts," he said. Jasmine slid the folder open just enough for the corner of a photograph to show. The overhead lights caught the edge of glossy black and white, the kind of image that belonged in a military archive. She didn't pull it out. Not yet. "Because if we're talking about service," she continued, "then we should be very clear about who actually stood for this country and who stepped aside." The moderator looked between them, sensing the live wire they were holding. "Congresswoman." But the moment wasn't his to control anymore. The cameras stayed on her. The crowd leaned in. And somewhere in the shadows of the front row, a silver-haired veteran adjusted his seat, as if he knew exactly what was coming next. The silence was sharp enough to cut. Every camera in the arena had locked on Jasmine's hands, waiting for her next move. She lifted the photograph from the folder and held it in the air. The lights hit it perfectly. The grainy black and white image of a young man in uniform, medals glinting even in faded print. "This," she said, her voice steady, "is Staff Sergeant Elijah Crockett, my grandfather, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, 3 tours overseas in World War II. He fought in France. He survived the Pacific. And when he came home, he kept serving his community until the day he died." The crowd was silent. You could hear the faint whir of the camera crane overhead. She laid the photo on the desk and pulled out a single page. The official service record, stamped and sealed by the U.S. Military Archives. She tapped the line that read, "Honorable Discharge," and then the list of commendations beneath it. So, when I hear someone suggest that my family has never done anything for this country, she paused, eyes fixed on Trump. I think we need to compare records. Trump shifted in his seat but said nothing. His hands gripped the edge of his podium. Jasmine reached back into the folder and, with slow precision, pulled out a second document. This one looked older. The paper yellowed, the text typed in fading ink. She didn't speak right away. She just held it up so the cameras could zoom in. "This," she said, "is your grandfather's record." The crowd made a low, collective sound, the kind that happens when people sense a blow before it lands. She looked down at the page, reading aloud so there could be no mistake. Deferment, March 3rd, 1942. Reason, personal business obligations. Deferment, July 8th, 1943. Reason, family affairs. Deferment, October 10th, 1944. Reason, medical, unspecified. She let the last word hang in the air. A murmur rippled through the audience. Someone in the second row whispered, "3 times?" The silver-haired veteran in the front row sat straighter, eyes locked on Trump. Trump leaned toward his mic, his voice tight. "That's a mischaracterization." "It's a record, Mr. Trump," Jasmine cut in, her tone like a blade. "Not my opinion, the record." The moderator stepped forward. For the audience at home, our producers have just confirmed these documents with independent verification. His voice had the weight of a courtroom verdict. They are authentic. The arena shifted. People sat forward in their seats. The energy was electric, like the moment a storm breaks open. Jasmine placed both documents side by side on her desk. Her grandfather's service, Trump's grandfather's deferments. Under the lights, the contrast was brutal. One page was filled with campaigns, commendations, and sacrifice. The other was filled with reasons not to serve. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just looked at him and said, "You don't get to question my place in this country when my family earned theirs the hard way." Phones went up all over the arena. The shot, Jasmine on one side, the two records in the middle, Trump on the other, was already being clipped, shared, and captioned online. The first blow had landed, and it had landed hard. For a few seconds, the arena felt frozen. The two documents lay between them like a loaded weapon, and no one moved. Then, a chair scraped against the floor. From the front row, a man in a dark green jacket stood up. The cameras swung toward him instinctively. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a chest full of medals that caught the light like tiny flashes of lightning. His hair was silver, but his posture was still military sharp. When he spoke, his voice carried without a microphone. "She's telling the truth." The crowd turned toward him. Even the moderator paused mid-step. "I've seen those records," the man continued. "I served with men like her grandfather, men who bled for this country so the rest of us could come home. And I'll tell you this, you don't get to take that away with words." The audience erupted. Applause rolled through the arena like thunder. It wasn't polite clapping. It was the raw, loud kind that came from deep agreement. Trump's eyes flicked toward the veteran, then back to Jasmine. His jaw was tight. "This is staged," he snapped, waving a hand toward the man. "You planted him here." The veteran didn't move, didn't flinch. His eyes stayed locked on Trump. "I'm not planted anywhere," he said. "I served so people like her could stand here without being told they don't belong." The cheers grew louder. Someone in the second row stood up and clapped over their head. Others followed. Within seconds, the crowd was on its feet, and the cameras were fighting to capture every angle of the sudden standing ovation. Trump leaned into his mic, his voice sharper now. This is political theater. But his words were drowned out. The noise was overwhelming. Cheers, whistles, chants. A wave of support for Jasmine that the producers in the control room could already see would become the defining clip of the night. Jasmine didn't raise her hands. She didn't turn to soak in the applause. She just stood still, facing forward, letting the crowd speak for her. Her expression stayed calm, almost cool, but her eyes were lit with something sharp. The moderator tried to regain control. All right, let's... But the energy in the room had shifted completely. Trump's supporters were no longer cheering. They were sitting, arms folded, watching the moment slip away. Jasmine's side of the arena was electric, feeding off the veterans' words like fuel. Finally, the noise began to die down, but the silence that followed wasn't neutral. It was loaded. The kind of silence that leaves one person in control. And it wasn't Trump. The veteran sat back down, but not before locking eyes with Jasmine and giving the smallest of nods. She returned it. A silent acknowledgement between two people who understood what service actually meant. Trump adjusted his notes, his movements suddenly quicker, more restless. He was trying to get the rhythm back, but the crowd had seen the crack. And Jasmine? She was just getting started. The standing ovation faded, but the aftershock still hung in the air. Trump's jaw was tight, his hands gripping the edge of the podium like he could hold the moment together by force. The cameras didn't blink. Neither did Jasmine. The moderator gave them both a look, the one that says, "We're running out of time." "Final statements," he announced, his voice cutting through the low murmur of the crowd. 30 seconds each. Trump jumped in first. His voice was louder now, his sentences short and jabbing. "Folks, don't be fooled. This is all a distraction. We're here to talk about the future of America, not dig through ancient history. We need strong leaders, not speeches meant to divide us." He forced a smile and looked into the nearest camera. "And I am that leader." A few scattered claps came from his section of the audience, but the energy didn't rise. The momentum was gone. The moderator turned to Jasmine. "Congresswoman Crockett." She stepped forward, both hands resting lightly on the desk. No papers, no folder, just her. The yellow folder lay closed now, its job done. "Mr. Trump says this is a distraction," she began, her voice calm but resonant. "But service to your country is never a distraction. It's the foundation of everything we stand on." She took a slow step closer to the mic. "My grandfather fought for this country when it needed him most. He didn't ask who deserved protection. He didn't check who was born where. He served, because that's what Americans do." The room was silent. Even the cameras seemed to hold still. "And when you tell me, or anyone, that we don't belong here." She glanced briefly toward Trump. "You're not just talking to us. You're talking to every soldier, every immigrant, every family who gave something to this country without asking for anything in return." Her voice tightened, just enough to give the words weight. "America doesn't belong to one man. It belongs to all of us who keep building it, protecting it, and believing in it. That's patriotism, and no one, not even a former president, gets to take that away." There was no drum roll, no cue from the moderator. The applause just started, slow at first, then surging into a roar. People were on their feet again, some waving flags, others just clapping until their hands went red. Trump stayed seated, his eyes fixed on the desk, his jaw locked. For the first time that night, he didn't try to talk over the noise. The camera operators knew the shot they needed. Jasmine standing tall at her podium, the crowd behind her, Trump in the background. Still, silent, small. In living rooms across America, that image was burned into memory. And by the time the network cut to commercial, it was already being clipped, posted, and shared with one caption: "We belong here."